Hi, and welcome. As everyone starts to come in, I just want to say thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Katie, and I'm the Director of Community here at Rock Paper Coin, and I'm so glad that you're here. So, just a few quick housekeeping items before we officially get started. Number one, for our attendees, can you all please head to the chat and change your chat settings to everyone so that we can all see your comments, not just us hosts and our panelists. And since community is so big to us, please say hello in the chat and let everyone know who you are, where you are, and what you do. And don't forget to drop your Instagram handle so everyone can follow each other and make new connections there. Two, speaking of getting to know you, will you please also get out your phones and give us a follow on Instagram at Rock Paper Coin? And we have lots of amazing pros on this panel that would also love a follow and to get to know you better as well. So Sari will add all of those handles to the chat and get you up and rolling there. Okay, lastly, for those joining us for the very first time, we are Rock Paper Coin, a female founded and owned CRM. Our platform serves small business owners just like you by providing invoices, proposals, contracts, all at an affordable price that you love. So please do check us out. And with that, I want to go ahead and get started because we have such an amazing, awesome session today. So this is a special day because we normally have one guest, maybe two, but today I want you to just look at this powerful group. Our experts are media pros, they're florists, they're photographers, they're videographers, and they know firsthand what it takes to turn, for better or worse, into for profit and growth. Now, what kind of host would I be if we didn't kick off the session with some intros in a super fun way? But first, panelists, can you please let us know who you are and what you do, and then we'll get into some fun questions. Let's start with Kirsten and Maria.
Hi, everybody. I'm Kirsten Palladino. My pronouns are she, her.
And I'm Maria Palladino. My pronouns are she, they.
And we're the founders of Equally Wed, an LGBTQ plus wedding magazine, and Equally Wed Pro, an LGBTQ plus inclusive education platform.
Amazing. Okay, Ian and Paul.
Hey everybody, my name is Ian Ramirez. I am the co-owner of Madera Estates, along with my husband Paul.
How are you? I'm Paul Petty. Also work with my husband at Madera Estates and one of the co-founders with him at Venue Help Desk.
Love, hello. Okay, Lydia and Josh.
Hi, I'm Josh, and this is Lady,
Hi,
and
everyone.
we are the Fourniers. We are husband and wife wedding photographers. We shoot destination and worldwide.
Amazing. All right, Ashley and Tyler. I have Taylor Swift on the brain. I'm sorry, I can't. It's just still stuck in my brain.
Hey, just don't call me late to dinner, you know?
Tyler and Ashley, we are a wedding photo and video team. We do some corporate clients up here in Northern Georgia as well. And we are so thankful to be here. We've been a husband and wife team for about 10 years now. So we really love it. It's great.
Amazing. Okay, and Megan and Garrett.
Hey guys, my name is Megan. My husband Garrett is unfortunately not here right now. We are a husband and wife wedding photography and videography team. We're based in Maryland and we're currently under a winter weather advisory. So, but we're happy to be here. We started in 2014, so that's just a little bit about us.
Oh, okay. I love it. Thank you so much for those introductions. Now, let's be honest. I know that there are a ton of people who are going to listen to this and think I could never, ever work with my spouse, right? I mean, I'm sure you already at some point or continue to get comments about working together all the time, right? Yep. So to get to know you just a little bit better, let's kick this off with some icebreakers. Okay, this is just for everyone. So whatever answer you feel, just let it out. If your business partnership had a theme song, what would it be?
Yeah, he's gonna break the ice. We'll go. We talked about this a little bit. I like Jack Johnson, and he has a song named Better Together.
Yeah.
So we thought that would be good for us.
Love that. Anyone else?
The first thing that came to my mind, I don't even know the rest of the lyrics, but it's a song that's like, you are the best thing. Dun, 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 dun.
I was
Right.
totally gonna say The Office for her.
I'm loving this. Okay. And then what's the weirdest or most unexpected thing about working with your spouse?
I would say, since we're always doing weddings, I feel like it's almost become like almost a therapeutic session every time we go through the planning process with a couple, from beginning to at the reception when they're giving toasts. I feel like every everybody that we're a part of, you can take a lesson from, and it's been like a relationship therapy session each time.
Yeah. Yeah.
One thing that I learned about my husband with working with him, we share an office. Didn't realize how loud his voice is. He's a professional opera singer, so we have to figure out taking little breaks and whatnot, especially when he's on the phone with a client.
Ooh, I'm sure you saw. We of course have just a list of like, hey, I'm thinking about asking these questions before we actually push live on this. And I'm sure you saw in there that there's a section of like, what's the thing your partner does that you might wish they? I have a feeling this is going to come back to us, Ian. Get ready, get ready. It's gonna warm up. Okay, so that was fun, but now, of course, like let's dive into some real stuff. So, we do these webinars every month and it's always a different idea. And, these topics don't just come out of thin air. They are largely based on conversations that we have with our community, with our industry, and our members. And one of the main things that I see that prevents couples from working together is the division of work and home, especially if you work from home and don't have an office or an additional space to go to. And I totally get this because when you're together 24/7, work can easily seep into every conversation. I could easily see myself having conversations that lean into dinner or flow into the weekends, but some partners might need to close that office door at 5 p.m. on Friday and switch priorities. So Lenny and Josh, not only do you work together, but you travel so much. Do you find it hard to turn off business mode and create a personal connection, or is it just work all the time and you've kind of learned how to just blend the two?
Well, we moved our desks into the living room, so I think that kind of answers the question. We blend it all together.
Yes, all
So
the time.
yeah, we don't really find a need to separate the two, and our business is just something that we've created together, and it's such a big part of our marriage that we don't really find the need to divide it up. There are times we're more intentional about focusing on a business, and times we're more intentional about focusing in on each other or family. But yeah, we blend it all together.
Yeah, and it's funny because we've found that sometimes our best ideas come from like conversations that we are having during a date night or something like that. And we're like, hey, this just came up. What do you think of this? And the whole time we're brainstorming, we're connecting, and we are, working on our personal and personal growth all the time. And it's something that we do together. And there doesn't need to be like close the door. Now it's like all about family, or like close the door. Now it's all about business. It's organically happening all the time.
Oh, I love that. Okay. Ian and Paul, you are slightly a little different because you own a venue. So it's a standalone place outside of your home. So do you think this is easier for you to separate work from home?
Go ahead.
So what we learned, especially we had a home in downtown Houston, which is about 45 minutes from our venue. At that time, what was killing us was the drive. So there has been an opportunity that we could move here on the land of Madera Estates, but we decided to buy a home about 10 minutes away. And which I love because we may be on those date nights. If we do get a phone call that we need to be back at the venue, it's not taking as much time up from our schedule that we were originally having to deal with when living in Houston. So we get that phone call having to drive up to Conroe, deal with it, and then go back. That could be 2.5 hours. Now we can get everything done in about an hour if there is something needed at Madera Estates.
Yeah. Would you, looking back now, knowing that you have the option to be able to, let's just say, live on a compound, right? Like, would you do it differently?
No.
That you did not hesitate, my friend. That was very quick.
Have a little bit of a distance. And I think even though it is only 10 minutes away, I think it does give us a little bit of that separation that sometimes is needed. But as Paul mentioned, being able to be at the venue, just to hop in the car if I've left something, come back. I mean, it ultimately is a second home, a second office, right? Even though I have an office at home, it's nice to be able to easily transition from one to the next.
Yeah, and I feel like our staff feels supported too, because they know we can be here really quickly.
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay, so open answer for all of you. What are some strategies for setting boundaries between work and personal time that you have in place that actually work?
I can jump in. I would say when I was thinking about this, for me, starting off, it wasn't a strategy problem as much as it was a motive problem. And so I am very much so, I could work for like 4 years without taking a break. And especially when you start a business, I mean, you're energized, you're excited, there's no burnout, there's none of that. And so you're ready to like put your feet forward, best foot forward and dig in and not see your family for, weeks at a time. So my wife, she's got a really good balance for that. And early on, I was annoyed by it because she was trying to bring me back to reality. So over time, it was not a quick fix. It was over time, my motivations changed. And as I learned to prioritize my family more, then I started developing strategies for like, okay, it's time for me to, I'm going to have either specific times that I'm going to edit or specific times we're going to do business. And then I'm going to have like a shut off time. And sometimes that was just mental because, businesses when you're self-employed are not 9 to 5. It's sometimes from, 2 to 10 or, 11 to 1 in the morning or whatever it is. But having like the motivation to think in my mind throughout every day, I'm going to take a stopping point at this point so that way I can prioritize my family. So it wasn't really a strategy as much as it was a motivation that kind of developed over time.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I see a lot of like nodding heads here. This is yeah. Megan's like, yep, that's it. Okay, so I want to move a little into different work styles. So my husband and I, we don't work together, but we for sure have different work styles in general, and we both work at home a lot. And I mean, just the way that we handle chores over the weekend tells me that we would not do well running a full-time business together, but forget about like when we spend so much time in the house together working at two completely different companies. So I can't wait to hear about this because I'm sure you all have the most interesting preferences. One needs quiet, the other blares Broadway musicals, or someone is the planner and the other goes with the flow, morning person versus night owl. So Kirsten, Maria, and Megan, same question for you. Kick us off here by telling us about your different styles professionally and maybe personally.
Yeah. Well, I'm definitely I would say more of a planner. Like I need to know the full scope of something before I divide it into, tasks. Whereas I think you are a little bit more go with the flow thing.
Yeah, I think I can jump around to a lot of different things and have a lot going without Kirsten likes to-do list. She likes to whatever project management system we're working in currently right now, it's Asana, jump in and get everything outlined for what we have to do for the next 3 months. And I'm like, let's just do it. Let's just do something. Let's just get something going. So I think that's where we've really been a little bit different, but it balances us both. It helps me kind of keep on track and hopefully helps her get stuff done.
I will also say Maria is an excellent multitasker, and I have severe ADHD, and so multitasking means I won't get anything done. So, like they can like whip out a whole bunch of different things in one day, and I do better if I focus on one thing.
It's good to know our strengths. It's good to know our weaknesses. That's half of the battle. All right, Megan, what about you?
For us, Garrett is an engineer by trade, so he is Mr. Flowchart. Everything is strategically in place. Me, I'm more of a creative. I need to kind of see everything all around me and like choose projects that I can work on. But I'm also like very I don't multitask well, so I need to work on one thing, but I'd like to see what's going on. So I'm very visual in that aspect. whereas Garrett is very much more organized and works better with things in place. So when we started, this was a bit of a challenge, and at first we were like, this isn't going to work. We're not going to make it through this marriage. But we hung in there and we found different things that, you know, help both of us out. And now I feel like we're at a point where we're very streamlined and we give and take with each other. So
I feel like you are going to be like just that statement right there is going to be a huge motivation for people that are listening to this, because for a lot of people, they do not get past that statement of this is not going to work. Like this is just not going to work out, right? And so
yeah.
being able to lean into that a little more and just say like, okay, wait, hold on. Before we like completely say this isn't going to work, like what isn't working and how can we both agree to disagree? Or, you know, I need this, you need this. Like, I think that's great. I think
It's a big learning curve, but you can get through it.
you can.
Yeah.
Anything's possible, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So Ashley and Tyler, how do you maintain a healthy balance and ensure that business discussions don't overshadow your personal relationship?
Sure, I'll tap in after you say.
All right. So she could go first so I could pick whatever she says and be like, yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Secret
Yeah.
sauce, everyone. We can end this right now. That's exactly how you work with your spouse. There it is. Thank you very much. You just
No. I was gonna say that what I found, there are certain discussions, even in business, because we do, just like the other couple mentioned, you know, we merge our business talk and personal talk a lot. But what I found is, for instance, like I do the finances, that's a draining talk for her. So I'm very,
I leave quickly when you
yeah,
start
she
talking
like,
about it.
I'm like, hey, what's this list of charges here? And she's like, oh, I'm so sorry, I have to go. And then, yeah, but there's energizing talks though for our business. Like when we're talking about new clients, we're talking about sometimes even like planning for weddings that are coming up, or, you know, like the theme for weddings and things that were energize us. Those just flow naturally. Business strategies and ideas, those, we love having those conversations. So they're energizing.
And we even, I
Yeah.
feel like naturally when we talk about like our business, our kids are even seeing how much we love what we do. And it is really fun because, you know, whenever we get off of a consult with a client, we're like, you know, then the client's like, yeah, we want to book. We go and we like celebrate with our kids, or like, guys, this is amazing. Like, we love what we do. We are so grateful, you know, kind of like bringing that personal life into it, because like, you know, we kind of are still like, pinch me, this is our real life, this is our job, we love what we do. And so I think the business has been since our like literally a year into our marriage, 10.5 years ago, that's when we started the business. And so like us together has been the business and us together. And so I think it's mainly been like you know, learning how to navigate challenges just in marriage in general. Like you just kind of naturally are able to do it with your business. I think that there's, like you said, I do run in the talks of finances because I love to spend money. So, but I also love to make money. So it's a goal-oriented life.
Yeah. She's got a good balance that way with business and personal.
all about
She
balance.
wins it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it really is, you know? I mean,
Yeah. No, I would say on maybe the flip side of like, you know, there's triggers that you have in a relationship. It's the same way with a business talk as it is a personal talk. And you learn those triggers after you've triggered them over the years. And so then you learn to maybe navigate those discussions with a little bit of, you know, wisdom, a little bit of patience. And so she's learned my triggers, I've learned hers. And the quicker you can identify triggers, and by the way, there's new triggers all the time.
all the time.
Yeah. And so that's like, people grow, people change. And so as people grow and change, there's new developments with triggers. So anyways, that's one thing that's really helped us, is learning to quickly identify our triggers to be able to navigate them better. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Can I
Yeah.
jump in too?
Please.
I was just going to say that we do the same thing. I just shut down when Marie wants to talk about money, but I think over the years, so we launched Equally Wed will be 15 next month. So we've launched that 15 years ago, and we've been together 21 years this year. And so we've grown as a couple, as humans, and as business owners, all at once. But one thing that I think, I don't want to speak for you, but it probably really frustrating, maybe for first 14 with the financial discussions. But I think where we've gotten is Maria will say, I want to talk to you about money on Wednesday at 12:30. And and it's going to be for 30 minutes. And we're going to, like those types of things and parameters. And I can get ready for that. And then also another way that we kind of break apart topics or balance our life is this a good time to talk about blank?
That's good.
But we love to talk about work, but we've also had, it's like when we go on dates or date nights, whatever, it's all right, no work, no kids. Like, what else can we talk about? We have to sometimes work on that. Like, what that those are our loves in our life. So, but I think just working together, like you said, triggers is a great word. And how to navigate that and continue to respect one another and enjoy the process and enjoy the work.
I mean, if it's not inspiring enough, I don't know what is. You are just giving it. You're giving all the feels. Thank you. And thank you for being so transparent about this. I mean, this is exactly the kinds of conversations that, to be a fly on the wall, right, is what everybody always says. And so thank you for opening so transparently. And I want to open this to everyone because I'm curious just about other maybe rituals or mandatory things. But what are some rituals or mandatory things you do that help in maintaining the balance and order? I'm wondering, do any of you do like every year we go on a business retreat, either, one that you pay for, or one that you create on your own, like a staycation. And it's like, this is where we're going to work on the business. And we have those hard conversations where we can't run to Target and like go and, buy the things and do the things that we want to do. So wondering for any of you, are those things that exist?
I was just about to say doing retreats is very important for us. So we always carve out time that is not a vacation, not a family-oriented, getaway, but something that's just for me and Garrett. And we have our notebook. We know what we're going to talk about. We know we're going to eat some good food and have a good time, but we're also going to sit down and talk about the hard things that we don't really want to talk about. And we always come away from those retreats with something eye-opening, and it's something that's needed for us.
Yeah, oh, I love that. That's great. Anything else before we move on?
I would say just echoing what's already been shared, one practice kind of that we have to maintain that balance is asking for permission. So if we are out on a date night and some fleeting thought or idea pops into our head and we want to share it, we have gotten the practice of asking for permission to talk about work, which is really easy to do a lot of times because we have two businesses, we think about multiple things. But we always respect the other if we say, you know what, like, I really don't want to talk about it right now. Can we talk about it tomorrow when we're back at our desks or when we're back at our office? So I think just respecting the mindset that we are in, regardless of where we're at.
It's been a huge game changer for us.
Oh, amazing. Okay. Well, now look, let's kind of shift gears here and talk a little about navigating challenges. So, to be clear, I am not implying that any of these teams have conflict or arguments or disagreements, but at some point, something is going to get awkward, or you are going to have a rift or a fight or a disagreement on Sunday that naturally bleeds into your feelings on Monday. Okay, so the worst thing that can happen in any relationship where you work together is not resolving that conflict, because things get amplified really, really quickly. And if you already struggle with communication, you already struggle with decision making or conflict resolution in your personal life, those same struggles, they follow you and they explode under business stress. Okay, so let me know what you think, amazing panel. But I think this is a big reason that we hear a lot of people say, oh, I could never work with my spouse. I think that is a really driving factor there. So listen for your name. We've got Ian and Paul, we have Megan, and we have Kirsten and Maria. So same question for all of you. Have you ever had a work disagreement that spilled over into your personal life, and how did you handle it?
Yes, of course, it's only natural, right? When you share an office, especially, there's going to be some disagreements that happen that potentially can communicate over into the personal space. And I think it's intentionally still giving yourself that individualism. As much as we all here on this panel today are couples, we run our businesses together. Simple things that we have implemented, driving to work or driving to the venue separately, has been a nice boundary for us to set. So if we do need that individual headspace to be able to think about our thoughts on the way home from work to the house, even though it's only 10 minutes away, I will tell you, having that small boundary and autonomy as a single person, right, as an individual, has been very important for us. Just to give us that 10-minute pause, we get home. And then, of course, as you mentioned, right, communication is so important when we do have that breakdown, if there is some sort of heated debate, if you will, that happens. But for us, that is something that we have set. So even though we work together every day and we leave the house and we go to the same venue together, we do drive separate cars, believe it or not. So that has been very helpful for us.
Matching cars, though. Don't forget.
They are
What we do.
This is great. I love that advice. That is really good. And talking about triggers, right? It's like, if you know you are a person who just needs a little bit of space, just a little, like just some space like that, that's great. Like, I love that. That is awesome. Okay, here's to Maria. Have you thought of anything?
Well, I would
Mm.
say that one of the things that we hate to talk about money again, but I think that that's where we have had disagreements in the past, both in our marriage and in our business. We were raised very different. And Maria is very responsible and fiscally conservative, and I am not. And so I think like those are just some core differences that we have, and I think what helps though is that we have mad deep respect for one another, and have seen how it works better when we can work through things, and just be able to respect one another's opinion in that, bringing to the table, well, here's why I want to just go wild with that bank account, or or Maria's like, well, here's our 5-year trajectory, and like, you can't go wild, or you can go a little wild, or those types of things. But just being able to calmly, respectfully have those conversations. But I think also, because our income from the company impacts our personal life, like how we live our lives and how we pay our bills,
Yeah.
it can't help but spill over back and forth, and how those decisions just they play off of each other.
Yeah, and I think when you run a business together, you have risk plays a lot. You can take risk in your business, and it's going to risk your potential marriage or your family. And I think that has to be balanced. That Kirsten may want to take risks with the business financially, or even just nothing to do with money. And I may say, well, what are the repercussions of that, and how could it affect us, and how could it affect the business, which then spills over to our kids and our home and everything. So I think that's been a balance of figuring out how to have risk within our relationship, but even more importantly, have risk within our business that's not going to severely affect something and trickle down all the way through.
Right. Yeah. Oh, and I will add too, and I think this is related to possibly another thing, but I think one thing that helps us, and we've had to learn it, is because we know each other so well, because we're married, not learning how to not prey on each other's weaknesses in the business sense. Like, oh, I know you got that childhood issue, and I'm not thinking of anything specific, but
Yeah.
not bringing that into the business, or doing so in a really respectful way that you would never do to a colleague.
Right.
You just talk about them at the water cooler. No, I'm just kidding. But just figuring all that out, navigating them.
Yeah, I can relate to this. I mean, as somebody who asks my husband nonstop why we still haven't bought a house in Portugal, or can't just go to Italy for dinner. Like, why is this so complicated? Let me live my life. Like, I can relate to everything that you're saying. But also, especially, I think it is so easy. You know everything when you are partners and you decide to work with each other. It's very vulnerable. You know everything about this person, and you know their weaknesses. You're right. And it's so easy to be able to just kind of lean into that a little bit, whether you're looking for empathy or agreement or anything like that. So I think that was an amazing, amazing thing to bring up. Megan, do you have anything that you wanted to add to this?
Well, I would hate to follow Kirsten and Maria because that was a phenomenal answer. And I totally relate with that as well. And maybe just to echo or to go in deeper with that is, I've known Garrett for so long, and of course we're going to have disagreements. So like when we come to that point, we both have to take a step back because me and him are both very fiery people naturally. So we take a step back, ask each other what is the most logical thing for us to do, and to move forward with the answer, even if it's not the answer that we want, but just trying to do the right next thing, the right best next thing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that. Letty and Josh, how do you ensure you both feel heard and valued when making tough calls or decisions on something that one or both of you felt very deeply about?
You go for it.
Okay. So we did something very early on in our business, and I think it's been very beneficial for us, is that we sort of divided the labor up. We said, like, these are the areas that you're responsible for, and this is the areas that I'm responsible for. And we have let that be sort of a guiding principle throughout our business. So when it comes to making big decisions, if it falls into one of those two like camps, then that makes it really easy. It's like, well, this is kind of the decision that you're supposed to make or you're supposed to make. Now, we don't rely on the other person to make any of the decisions. We always come together and work together on that. But if there's a, let's say, more of an artistically inclined question and Lady feels really strongly about it, I trust her judgment and I'm going to go with her on that. Whereas I handle more of like the business related things of the business and she trusts my judgment on that. And I think that has served us really well because it's allowed us to not have a lot of conflicts where we're trying to both make a decision that takes the business in different directions.
Yeah, we feel like I feel like that's a big challenge for any new couple that's starting to trying to start a new business with their partner, is that if you, especially if it's not something that you're starting together from the ground, if like, let's just say the wife has the business and wants the husband to join, if she is not like ready to trust in or to delegate or to set, give that husband responsibilities or like really set expectations for him, I feel like that can bleed a lot into a lot of mistrust and a lot of like, not trusting what he is, recommending for the business or which path he wants to take. And then there's a lot of conflict there because there's no, real set expectations and or trust on what the other person can do and is capable of doing.
Yeah, and the last thing you want to do is create any pockets of resentment or, immediate distrust. And it is really easy to lean into the you always, you never verbiage. Like that comes in super, super easy when, again, it's your person that, you're like, what are you going to do? Like, you're stuck with me. You got to listen to this conversation. So yeah, absolutely. I could not agree with that more. And Ashley and Tyler, what's something you wish that someone had told you about conflict resolution when working with your spouse before you started working together?
I would really say, at the very beginning of the first time when we started working together, I would say that a lot of my pride was what like held me back from solving the actual conflict. So he really helped me see like what was our goal. Like we're working together now, like what is our ultimate goal in the business? And like even now, whenever we disagree with like where we're going to spend our marketing money or something of that nature, like I remember bringing something up to him like maybe a month ago, and I was like, hey, I think this would be a really great opportunity. And he's like, let's rein back in. That actually like doesn't meet what our ultimate goal is with our business. And it's very true. Like I think that before, when I took everything really, really personal, whenever he first kind of joined us, now I kind of am like, well, yeah, that's like not what our goal is for our business. So we probably shouldn't like go that route, because I'm like a dream big. I'm like a look at like the 10 years, what we could be doing. And it's like, what is our goal right now in the next like 5 years of our business? Like what, yeah.
Yeah, she's the big picture, like guns ho, $100,000 next month. I'm like, well, let's keep going from there. I would say maybe the biggest breakthrough for me personally, that helped with, personal business, because they're really so tied together. It's how, if you have a healthy personal, relationship with your spouse, then, those tools will also be used for the business. The biggest breakthrough for me, which I still have a hard time actually, listening to the actual breakthrough I've been given, is realizing perspective, that even if I think she's wrong in whatever scenario, I still have to take ownership that I can, I could have responded better. I could have navigated the situation better. I could have done it in a lighter tone. I could have done something to actually make the situation not what it is. And so almost like if I can put that on every conflict, that this is actually, in a way, it's my fault, and so I need to realize that I could have done something to make this better. Then that, I don't always take that advice, but that's what I found to be the biggest help for me personally with business, personal, is that this is like, I have a part in this, even if I think 100% it's her that spent the $100,000, not really, but I just taken ownership, I guess, is the having perspective that she views this differently. And therefore, there's something I could have done to navigate this better.
Yeah, and I think in that, you could not have said it better. And I think that's the thing for people that are navigating, like, should I do this? Should I not do this? Well, this is going to work. Well, will this not? You are who you are, but there is a huge part of this, which it comes down to accountability. Right? It just comes down to respect. It comes down to honesty, transparency, and it comes down to accountability. Just the same as if you were at work with your employees or with your boss or in any corporation or anything that you're doing, there is a level of accountability, and that doesn't change just because it's your spouse. In fact, it becomes even more, of a need to build that trust and like have that foundational layer. So I could not agree with you more than that. I hope um panelists, you are looking at the chat, because number one, people are saying that this topic is amazing. So please know that everything that you are saying is really, really hitting. Number two, Amy, I agree with you. My neck is also killing me from nodding every second to everything that everyone is saying. So we are there. So I just want to make sure that you know that this topic is firing on all cylinders. So open to all of you, just a quick question. Do you have any rules that help pump the brakes? So like in our house, we have the agree to disagree. We have the pause or the tackle. So we can agree to disagree and walk away. We can hit pause if this isn't something we can quickly resolve, or we can tackle it now and move on if it's something quick. So I'd love to know, are these things that you have in the house? Are there any fun ones? I saw in the comments, someone's like, we just laugh about everything. Like we watch a funny cat video, that works too.
Our rule is Ashley is always right, no matter what the case.
No, there's no agree to disagree.
Katie agrees. She's like, that's how it works here.
Right.
Stream ownership. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love
I
it.
would say expressing gratitude. That's something that we're trying to be more intentional about, not only for each other, but just in our industry, right? We know things can get very overwhelming, things can get stressful, especially with two businesses, things definitely can be stressful at times. And so I think we try to put ourselves in the mindset, kind of the rule, anytime where we can sense one of each other maybe is down or we're super overwhelmed, taking a second to push pause and talk about things that we're grateful for. And I think it's a great reminder to kind of pick the other one up if we're ever kind of like in that funk, or, we're in the throw of busy season in November and we've got 14 weddings at the venue and things are like running on all cylinders. It's just pushing pause for a second and just reminding ourselves things that we're grateful for.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. We all need that reminder, regardless if we work with our spouses or not, or our partners or any of it. Like we all need that reminder.
Yeah.
So that's actually, I want to kind of move into happier subjects, success and partnership, if you may. So, anyone can easily look at all of your careers and say, look at your clients, look at your travel, look at your families, look at your life and your hobbies, your relationships, your marriage, your success, and easily say, this panel, they have it all. And they wouldn't be wrong to think that, because you all do an impeccable job of balancing it all, or at least seemingly to balance it all. So kudos to all of you. So tell me, and this is open to all of you, what are the signs that your work-life balance is compromised? And as partners, what do you do to help the other in these moments?
For us and our family, we've been doing this for a while, so our family's gonna let us know when they feel neglected. We've never had a problem with them not telling us how they feel about things. So we always have to make sure that we keep them on the forefront. Like, we love our business and everything, but when it comes to our family, they come first.
Yeah.
And they'll let us know.
There will be signs.
Yes, there will be signs.
For us, I think both of us show stress with not sleeping. So I notice if we're not sleeping, that we need to maybe have a conversation of what's going on with that. Yoga is a big deal for us. We are yogis. I think that helps reset us a lot.
You have a nap pass. You're like, here is your nap pass for the day. Please go home and use it.
Yes, absolutely.
Love it. Okay, Lady and Josh and Ian and Paul, same question for both of you. Can you share a challenge one of you was facing and how you came together and overcame it as partners?
Well, we had a baby and he never slept. So that was a huge challenge for us. But the way that we overcame that is that really helped us restructure things in our business and work together better as a couple. Because then we're able to look at how we were working and how we could do things differently to support each other.
Yeah, we basically streamline processes and put, together like little ways that we could like itemize certain things that like didn't necessarily require both of us, that we were doing together before because it was comfortable, and that's just the way we always did it from the beginning. We were able to, assign new responsibilities and create new roles that allow us to be a little bit more efficient with our time, so we could still be productive while running in very little sleep, and also like take care of our baby who was born in the middle of wedding season 2 years ago. I mean, he's still not sleeping, but is a little better now. But he was born in the middle of wedding season 2 years ago, so we literally had to reinvent how we do things and to make sure that we could still be productive adults and run a business efficiently.
Wow. That's so much. Ugh.
I think the challenge that we face at Madera, I think there's really two that come to mind. The first one is we're a family business. My parents started the venue 13 years ago. My mom is still involved in the business, and Paul came on board from corporate America and at 2021, and there was a little bit of friction there when he joined the team, just because of, I'm not going to say that we didn't have systems and processes in place as a family business, but when he came in, he brought in a different skill set. So it was a really unique opportunity for me, a humbling opportunity for me to give up a little bit of that control, if you will, right? And that was a little bit of a struggle for us in the beginning. And it was really great, actually, like hindsight now looking back.
Yeah.
The outsider's perspective, right, coming into a family business and dynamic that already existed was actually the perfect thing that we needed to grow our venue. And then I would say the other challenge that we experienced, speaking of a family business, we did lose my dad 2 years ago. And so that was a unique transition at our family business, assuming new roles, assuming new duties at the venue as things changed. So I would say really as a couple, the main thing to get us through both of those challenges was having our regular one-on-ones that we have that are really more meant for the business side of things. So having that weekly check-in, just to catch a pulse of what's going on in the business and then how we're feeling with our respective roles when it comes to the lanes and responsibilities that we have.
Yeah, that's a really fascinating, insight, because for a lot of times there's a lot that you can control, right? You can reset and you can make new rules and you can absolutely make your own changes, but sometimes it's forced changes and it's forced pivots, and you have to make these challenges and become not challenges that weren't necessarily up to you. And so again, going back to, if you have that strong foundation from the beginning, like anything that's going to come your way, it's still going to be a challenge, but you're going to be able to navigate it so much easier. So I could not agree with you more there. So Ashley and Tyler, quick question for you. While you were building your business and learning about each other, what was a moment when you realized you needed to engage boundaries?
We take it or you got it?
I've got something, but you can
Oh,
go.
no, you good. You're good. You go first.
I think it was probably about 4 or 5 years ago. We had gotten to the end of the year and we had just moved down to Georgia. And we were already starting to make pivots in the business. And I think if by the end of that year, the business probably that was one of our most booming years. And we got to the end of the year. I think there was over 20 round trip flights that we had taken for the year, just in like the end. And it was way overwhelming. And I remember we had like slowly started to see like this is too much. We ended up hiring like a housekeeper because we were never home. So for us, the moment that we were like, okay, at the end of the year, tax season, we were like, okay, we need to like change some things. We're not going to take more than X amount of weddings. And for like our own sanity, like truly, because I felt like I don't even remember that year of our life just because we were like so consumed in the business and we didn't prioritize us or our family. I don't think that we actually went on a vacation at all that year, which I am a big advocate for self-care. And so I think yeah, that was one of our boundaries is like he can definitely look at me and he's like, okay, you're stressed. You need to go and get a massage or something like that. Because I am kind of like I think it was Ian or Paul was saying like I controlled everything. Like in my brain, I'm like, I want it like this. I want the business to go like this. And I need to, set boundaries that Tyler can do things. He is capable of like helping in many, many ways, and he does. But so all that to say.
There's a Q&A question down here that is made for you. So when we get there, I will go to you first because what you just said, like I instantly went to, oh, the person waiting for this question to be answered will be very happy with your answers. Yeah, no, I mean, gosh, like there's just so much. And I know you just went on a cruise. So like kudos to self-care. Like,
Ew.
yeah, you look very, glowy and it worked. But it is, even if you run a business on your own, one of the most toxic things that seep into your mind is that you cannot say no to business. It sounds like such the opposite of what you're supposed to do when you start a business. Like you're supposed to say yes, you're supposed to make money, you're supposed to be successful, you're supposed to do all these things. And there is a difference between making money and being successful. And, that at the end of the day needs to be a bumper sticker so that everyone in the world can just see it. But there is. And so making sure that, you're
Prioritizing. Yes.
prioritizing one over the other when it comes to that is just deeply important. So speaking of self-care, I do want to pivot into celebrating successes and milestones real quick. So, I think for some couples and partners, remembering a birthday or an anniversary is asking a lot, let alone celebrating work milestones and accomplishments too. And, on top of running a business, which is really hard and exhausting, and having families and friends and personal lives. So it can all often just feel completely non-stop. So Megan, I'd love to know, why do you think it's important to pause and celebrate milestones? And do you do this yourself?
Oh, I do this myself. It's so important to celebrate because life is just so precious Garrett, if Garrett was here, he'd be rolling his eyes, but you just never know when's the last time you're going to see somebody, when's the last time you're going to be able to pick up your kid, when's those moments, you just never know when's the last time. And we lose people, and it's just important to celebrate people while they're here, give them their flowers, appreciate them, let them know that they're appreciated, put love on them. It's just, I don't even want to get emotional, but it's so important.
No, I can feel how important that is to you. And I love that that is still a priority, not only in your business, but then it just sounds like in your marriage, which is huge. So
Yeah,
I love
in
that.
our marriage, our family,
Yeah.
it's a cornerstone for us.
Well, and it's a family business. Like you
Yeah.
are supposed to be, right? Like
Yeah.
the closest you can get. So like just embrace it and, love on it. And I loved earlier when we were talking about like bring the kids into the celebrations, like
Oh,
bring the
yeah.
family, bring the dog into bring everybody into the celebrations. Like, it's to be celebrated. It is your life. And it's your story. And so that is just such an important thing to make sure that, you know, if it's enough for social media to know that you're doing it, then it's enough for your family to know that you're doing it.
That's
So
right. That's right.
front of mind. Ian and Paul and Ashley and Tyler, same question for you too. Have you ever hit a big goal but didn't take the time or forgot to celebrate it, and now you look back on that and you regret it?
Yes. We celebrated the goal, but it was a team goal that we reached, and we scheduled it over Paul's birthday. So anybody listening today, do not schedule a celebratory goal of something on your spouse's birthday, even though I thought it was a good idea.
Yeah,
And he went along with it. He did not enjoy it.
So now I give him a hard time.
And so
about
now he
it.
gives me a hard time. He's like, we're gonna
Celebrate-
schedule another work
summer
trip,
on my
celebratory
birthday.
over the summer. And I'm like, no, we are not. Duly noted, unless it's Disney World, because he will
We could
do
do that,
anything
yeah.
for Disney, with Disney adults. I mean, let's be real. He'll be like, yes, work. We can work there as a team, whatever. But any other time, no, don't schedule it on his birthday.
We have a bumper sticker. There it is.
Yes, yes. No, I think the only thing that I would say that I personally am still working on, and I think that's something that everybody listening today on the panel, is that we're always working on ourselves as a couple, as a business, right? And in our relationship and in our marriage. We have multiple team members at Madeira. We have full-time wedding coordinators. We've got banquet staff members. And so sometimes I get so focused on celebrating the goals and milestones of my team members, I sometimes forget that I also need to pour into Paul too, right? And I think it is really sometimes easy to fall into that trap of like, okay, I have to support these team members, but I can't forget to support him as well. And so I don't know if any of the other panelists have employees where they focus their attention on them so much, because you don't want to lose them, right? But then at the same time, I'm like, okay, well, I can't neglect, he's not going anywhere, right? So I'm like, forget you. No. But I think that's
true. That's what happens though, is you're like,
Right.
where are you gonna go? What are you gonna do? Like, you know, I'll forgive later. Like, but that leads to like bad things for
Well,
sure.
it's real life. We once booked a wedding during our wedding anniversary.
Oh, yeah.
And we totally did not realize it until like 2 months or 3 months before the wedding. We're like, oh, that is our wedding anniversary too. We should have probably, taken a personal day for that weekend.
Yeah. Unless you're in Bali or Florence, Italy, then maybe again, right? Or Disney, like then you're like, okay, maybe we can staycation this a little. But even then, right? Like that, I think also is a thin line, because it gets really easy, especially as you start getting into destination weddings. It's like, no, like you are also here. Yes, you're in a beautiful location and you may be in a country that you would normally want to take a vacation to. However, work is work. And you can't blur the lines between like always going on vacation because it's attached to a work trip, or only going to special locations because somebody paid for you to get there. And I think
We
that's
tried.
a trap, that you can fall into. I know
We did try. We don't recommend it. From a creative standpoint, sounds wonderful. It's amazing. From a financial standpoint, he vetoed that idea. He said, no, it doesn't make sense financially. So we can't do it every time, but we sometimes will make a point of like extending our trip a little bit and, finding some time for self-care and for self-exploring, to do things that will get us inspired for the next season or the next wedding and, the next client and stuff like that. But yeah, we try.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so we are running just a little close to 2, so I do want to make sure that we get to some Q&A. I had a couple other questions, but I think we can loop these into our Q&A section. But first, I just wanted to say, friends, thank you so much for sharing your expertise and your insight today. I know that I am personally leaving with quite a few gems to help better my marriage and myself, but also just other business relationships and friendships. So thank you. And to our amazing attendees, tell our panel what advice you are leaving with today in the comments. I know they would love to read this. So please feel free, take this time, fill up the comment section, let us know. Now look, I could keep talking about this forever, clearly, but like I said, we do have some good Q&A. So do you think that we could rapid fire these, my lovely panel? Okay. So first up we have, how do you pay each person for tasks? I thought this was a super fascinating one. I'm not sure if all of you are on salary or if there's, a pen and paper, like I did this task, give me $10. Like, I mean, obviously no, but What are we thinking here?
Well, I'll chime in as the non-financial person. But I think like I know like it'll be different across the board. And I see Ian nodding his head like, you because you have more than 2 people in the operation, but we're 50-50 the way that we file, like I mean, everything is equal distribution. So it's quite simple for us.
Yeah, that's great. Keep it simple. Like it.
Yep, same here.
Okay. All right. What's the best way to calculate how much revenue you bring in if you're not co-owners? Obviously, go get a legal professional and a financial expert. Disclosure. But any thoughts here? Oh, Ian, you're muted.
So we're both salaried at the venue. So I have the equity within the business because my parents started the business 13 years ago. But venue help desk, it's equally split with our other business partner. So for the purposes of today's conversation, I would say equals. But then without the venue, obviously we're paid our separate salaries and we pay ourselves.
And it's really interesting. At Madera Estates, I report to Ian. At venue help desk, we're equals. So there's different hats.
Yeah. Okay, just a nod of the head, just so we can get, obviously, I think, how do you pay and how do you get paid is probably like, I could guess, a number 1 Google search question when trying to open a business with your spouse. So just wondering here, you can just nod, like, how many of you went to a financial person to try to figure out how exactly you were supposed to pay each other, or did you just figure it out on your own? Financial person?
Yeah.
Nod? Yep.
Financial person. We started off on our own and then we were like, we need to go see somebody. So our finance person handles everything very nicely.
Great. Yep. Perf. Okay, there's your answers. Any advice for the early stages of working together when one spouse has been working in it from the start? We dream of my husband joining me, but sometimes when he tries to contribute, I end up putting walls and get defensive.
I've got something here. And I always think about, there is an amazing woman. She's a coach, Courtney Wolf. She does coaching with wedding professionals. And one of the things, this is actually literally something that I talked about when Tyler first joined me. And she's like, it's all going to the same bank account, Ashley. It's all going to the same bank account. And so like for me, I would just get so defensive and I'm like, no, like I am booking this, like, thank me. But it's kind of like, what's the purpose of that? And so that was kind of really helpful for me because it's like, yeah, at the end of the day, I'm still spending the money, whether he makes it or I make it. So
Love. Anyone else? Any thoughts?
I think for me, being at the venue for 4 years, then becoming a partner before Paul joined our business at the venue, I think, again, it was initially that sense of control that I struggled with in the beginning, and having the trust and wherewithal to know that what he is doing is great, and giving up that, being, I guess, comfortable with being uncomfortable, if that makes sense, right? Allowing myself to be vulnerable and trust the decisions that he is making. And so I think for anybody that is in a business and they're bringing their spouse into it after existing for a set amount of time, I think having that initial conversation about, hey, there may be this onboarding barrier to entry, right? Where I'm going to be better at giving up control and trusting the job that I've entrusted you to do.
Yeah, we had a really good scenario because I was a director of a hospital. So I was there Monday through Friday. But on the weekends, I could help him with tours or open houses. If we were putting those on, he would put that as a project, but I was not being paid by Madera at the time. So it was a good kind of like test if we were going to make it through. And then, yeah.
And I kept him around.
Yeah.
Good. Graduated from intern to
Yes.
Yeah, an unpaid intern.
Oh, I love it. Okay. So do you attend conferences together? We attend some, but the price of a conference ticket for both is just really high.
I can weigh in on this. So I would say if I was giving somebody advice on this, then if the cost of the conference is too high, but they still feel like there's a benefit to going to the conference, then have one person go and maybe one person go to a different conference, or just kind of divide the labor up. For us, we go to these conferences together because it's our brand. It's the brand image that we project as us working together. So we try to do that together as much as possible. And sometimes that might even look like a workshop where a lady is shooting and I'm just like tagging along for dinner, which I have no problem with. But that's the way we've always done it. So there's a little bit more of a higher expense to do that, but we are looking at it as a long-term with building relationships with other people.
Yeah, and I get where they're coming from with this. It's hard too. It felt like a couple years ago, you at least had a little bit more notice that there was a conference coming up. And it just feels like now, someone gets a really good idea for a conference and they get together with a couple people. And then like 4 months later, it's the conference. So there's not a lot of like budgeting, I feel like, that you can really go into for the year to budget, because these conferences just kind of spring up out of nowhere, and they can really pull to you. So I'm sure also, there's some added benefit to making sure that you sit down and say like, hey, I want to make sure that we prioritize going to 3 conferences this year. That means we're going to need potentially X, Y, and Z funds. So, making that part of your strategy of how many events you have to take on, or, where's this money coming from? Where is it investing from? So I love that.
I would add on to that. They brought up a good point that it's their business, their brand that kind of brings them to want to go together. We actually will go sometimes to these things and like on purposely sit at different tables to be able to create more networks. But, I have my own video team. She has her own photo team. We do work together. I would say probably 80% of the time we're working the same wedding. But we also work apart, but we also have our own team at that wedding day that we can run on our own. And so it's a different brand. And so therefore, maybe the answer to that question forever asked, it also kind of depends on their brand and what that, what the different roles would be for the spouses.
Yeah, I like that. That's really good. Okay, so my husband is keeping his full-time job until our business takes off to where he can quit. What's the best way to navigate this and not overwhelm him with busy schedules?
So I can chime in again real quick. I'm actually the resident videographer for a resort as well. We negotiated with it. It was not something we intended on doing, but they made me an offer I couldn't resist. So with that said, I've created a really good team for different roles I have within our business to be able to outsource. And, there's certain things I don't want to give away. I don't want to give away my creative parts of my business. And like I film everything. I want to have the final touches on everything. But there's parts of it, calling and, different parts like that and social media and parts that I was responsible for before that I can, kind of sub out. Well, I think it works on the flip side as well. If they're still waiting to go in, making sure they're not taking on too much, because if you have too much, sometimes quantity, the quality really gets hurt. And
Yeah.
so just making sure it's a really good balance starting off before you jump full time back into it.
Yeah. Kirsten, did you have something?
Oh, well, lady, I think hit it so hard and somewhere in the middle of the conversation by using the word trust. Being able to trust working together, trusting that someone can and will do something. I think those things are huge. But I also would just say, knowing what you even want your spouse to do when they come in, really getting realistic. Like they might be like, oh, I'm going to come in and I'm going to go to these conferences and I'm just going to sell us that way. And then the spouse is like, no, actually I have you in the back packaging. Like, just having all those discussions and really outlining what are the goals? Why are you coming in? Is it so we can spend more time together, or is it because you need to, we need help fulfilling these orders, or whatever it is? Like just open conversations and getting a really realistic nitty gritty. What do we want the outcome to be? What do we want the outcome to be when you're 30%, 50% in? Like just those types of conversations, I think, are going to help everyone not be resentful if you're not giving 50-50.
Yeah, so good. I love that. Okay, we've got one last question. What's the one piece of advice you wish you'd received before you started working with your spouse? And how has that advice shaped your approach to blending your personal and professional lives?
I can weigh in a little bit on this. It kind of goes back to what somebody else said about asking permission. And for us, we respect, we prioritize respect over feelings in the business. So we want to make sure that we're respecting each other. And there are times where we are sensitive to the other person and maybe aware that something we might be saying could maybe step on their toes or hurt their feelings a little bit. So for like the example of maybe giving feedback, one thing that we'll do is like when one of us does maybe something creative, like I might design something on the website and ladies like, are you ready for feedback? And I'm like, if I'm really emotionally attached to that, I might be like, okay, I need some space before you give me that feedback. But we know that ultimately the goal is just to push each other to grow and become better. So.
And it was something that we had to learn, because at the beginning, when I would give that feedback, he would be really hurt by it. And then I was like really like heartbroken. And I was like, oh my God, he's worked on that so hard. And I hate most of it. Like, and I need him to change 90% of it. Like, how do I give that feedback? Right. So yes, just knowing that I come from a place of respect, a place of like love, a place of like, hey, this is beautiful, but it's not in alignment with what we need to create to grow our business or to reach those clients and, you know, move our business forward. So that's,
I think that's the absolute definition of compromise. Like that's it right there. Well, and it goes back to what Kirsten and Maria said earlier too, which is, hey, heads up, like I have these things that I want to talk to you about, or I have these feelings, and allowing that person to also say, okay, bandwidth wise, like I could probably get there on Friday. Like, let's meet at our favorite taco place with a margarita. It'll help soften the blow of this conversation, and like I'll be more prepped to be able to have this. And so I think that blended those two conversations beautifully. So
I want to chime in about advice. So we launched Equally Wed in 2010, and we had twins in 2011. And one thing that I really struggled with was because, like, I know like half of us are just big dreamers, want to achieve everything right all at once. And along the way, like somewhere in between our children being like just born to like 2, I was really struggling with not checking off all of my goals. And because we were working and everything, working with the children, the babies, and all of these things. But I heard somebody say, I don't know, somewhere about like recognizing that everybody's in different seasons, and this is the season for this, and you're going to have a season for that, and that it, like, everything didn't have to happen all at once, but just those seasons really helped me, because I would see somebody doing something similar in a different, like, industry, but being at a certain level of success. I'm like, they don't have newborn twins, like just giving myself some grace, but also recognizing that we're all in different seasons. And I think, like, had I heard that from the beginning, maybe I wouldn't have been so hard on myself.
yeah, that's a big thing we talk about here and in our home. And it's something that we've really learned is so true, is that this is a moment, this is a season, there's so many ways to think about it. And that also helps in knowing like this isn't forever. We're not, if it's a good or if it's a bad, right? It kind of really helps to soften those feelings that start tugging, is that if it's a season, like one way or another, we're going to move into another part of this. And so I think that that's great. And third bumper sticker, there it is. We are just on a roll here. Start printing these. Let's go.
Rock paper coin merch.
Well, and when you are in that season, I feel like that is when it's so extremely important to celebrate the wins, because the wins will look so different on that season of your life as compared to another season where you're like focused on growth and like development and like pushing your business forward. So yes, that's another part that I think would help you get through that season a little bit better, because you will feel like you're in a hamster wheel and not think that you're making any progress, but because you're in it at that moment, but you will truly be making progress and making small moves forward that at the time will not feel like they're big moves, but they really are, still helping and driving that business forward.
Okay, well, why do we have to end? This is sad. This was so fun. And like, really, I'm so sad that this is now already over. But panel friends, you are all serious rock stars. And to our attendees too, you were amazing to have with us. This comment section is really giving me life today. And as a reminder, this is a monthly webinar that is hosted by us, Rock, Paper, Coin. So I don't want you to miss out on next month's Money Talk coming up in March with Sam Jacobson, all about the real cost of educating your clients the wrong way. We are going to learn how to speak transparently about pricing and other really hot client topics when it comes to getting them to understand what you are actually offering. And if you have ever caught one of Sam's talks about this topic, it's a really good one. So don't miss the sign up coming out soon. And just again, thank you, panel. You are all amazing. You are wonderful humans. Thank you so much for taking your time today. This has just been the very best.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Well,
Thank you so much.
Thanks, everyone. We'll see you next time.